I remember the moment like a photograph I never asked to keep. It was a Sunday morning, gray sky outside, the kind that makes the world feel half asleep. I walked into the kitchen, still in my old college hoodie, coffee brewing behind me. Sarah stood at the counter, scrolling through her phone, her hair tied up in that lazy bun she used to wear when she was happy. I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist, or at least I tried to. She stiffened instantly. "Don't," she said, her voice flat and cold. "Don't touch me." My hands froze midair. It wasn't a shout or a fight, it was worse. It was the kind of tone that turns affection into shame. I took a step back, pretending I was reaching for the sugar. I didn't ask why. I didn't say a word. I just stood there letting the silence do what it always did these days, fill every corner of our house until it felt like a third person living with us. We'd been married 11 years. Long enough to know when something breaks, it doesn't always shatter loudly. Sometimes it just stops making sound. The rest of the day went on in the usual half-hearted routine. She scrolled, cleaned, texted. I worked on my laptop, trying to drown the echo of her voice. "Don't touch me." That night, we barely spoke. She went to bed early. I stayed on the couch, pretending to watch something I wasn't even following. The couch had started to feel more like my side of the bed anyway. When morning came, I was already awake, sipping coffee at the same counter. Sarah walked in, hair perfectly brushed, perfume on. She looked more alive than she had in weeks. "Hey," she said casually. "I need your credit card." I looked up, blinking like I hadn't heard her right. "For what?" "I just need to get a few things," she said. "I'm meeting my friends for brunch later and my card's maxed out. I'll pay you back." It was the first time she'd spoken to me in a full sentence since the night before, and somehow it was about money, not about us, not about the space between us that had turned into a canyon. I handed her the card out of reflex. Old habits die hard when love turns into routine. But something in me was shifting, a quiet kind of anger that didn't feel loud or wild. It felt clean. She left without another word. I watched her drive away, her laughter echoing faintly through the open garage door as she called someone on speakerphone. I don't know who it was, but I remember thinking she sounded happier than she had in months. That afternoon, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the same card receipt lying beside my coffee mug. 26Y78, a boutique. I wasn't angry about the number. I was angry about the story behind it. The fact that affection was a burden, but my wallet wasn't. When she came back home, her tone was soft, rehearsed. "Oh, you're still here," she said, as if the man she married had turned into a ghost haunting the furniture. "Yeah," I replied. "Where else would I be?" She smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You don't have to sound so dramatic, Ethan. It's just been stressful lately." Stressful? That was the word she always used when she wanted me to accept emotional distance like it was a seasonal allergy. Something temporary, something she couldn't control. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about stress. It was about choice. That night I tried again, not physically, just emotionally. I sat beside her on the couch and asked how her day was. She didn't look up from her phone. "Fine. Sarah," I said quietly, "when did we stop being us?" She sighed like I'd just asked her to solve an equation she'd already decided not to understand. "Ethan, not everything has to be a talk. Sometimes people just change." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "They do." She went to bed early again. And I sat there, realizing that the warmth I'd been chasing was never coming back. The next morning, she asked for the card again. Same tone, same indifference. Only this time I smiled, because I'd already made up my mind about my answer. When she asked for the card that morning, her voice had that same careless calm, the kind you use when you're asking a stranger for a favor you know they'll say yes to. "Ethan, can I get your card again? I need to order something before work." I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, really looked. For the first time in months, I wasn't seeing the woman I'd married. I was seeing the person she'd become, detached, comfortable with distance. "Expecting me to stay quiet, Sarah," I said slowly. "I think you should use your own card." She blinked, confused. "What?" "My card's not for you anymore," I said. "You said last night that people change." "I guess you were right." Her expression shifted in half disbelief, half irritation. "Ethan, don't make this a thing." "You're overreacting." "I don't think I am," I replied. "You told me not to touch you. You said people change. I'm just adjusting to the new version of us you've created." She stood there, arms folded. "Wow, so now you're punishing me?" I shook my head. No, I'm respecting your boundaries. You said not to touch you. I'm just extending that, emotionally, financially. Completely. There was a long silence, the kind that hums between two people who finally realize they've run out of words. She scoffed and grabbed her phone. You're being ridiculous, maybe, I said. But I'm also done being invisible. She walked off, muttering something under her breath. The front door slammed. I sat there not with anger, but with an odd sense of relief. It was like a rope that had been cutting into my hands for years had finally been released. That evening, she didn't come home until late. No text, no call, just the sound of her keys hitting the table around 11 p.m. Did you eat? I asked. She didn't answer. She poured herself a glass of wine instead. Her silence used to hurt. Now it just confirmed what I already knew. I moved my money out of the joint account, I said calmly. That got her attention. Her head snapped up. Excuse me? I transferred my share. You'll get your half. Fair and simple. Her jaw tightened. You're seriously doing this? Over a hug? I smiled. Not the kind that shows teeth, but the kind that says you finally get it. It was never about the hug, Sarah. It was about everything after it. Every don't, every later. Every time you made me feel like love was an inconvenience you had to tolerate. She looked at me for a long time, trying to decide if I was bluffing. But I wasn't. There's a moment every man reaches when he stops begging for affection and starts remembering who he used to be. I stood up, walked past her and said quietly, You can keep the house. I'll keep my peace. She didn't follow me. She didn't say a word. Just silence, thick, heavy, final. I stayed in a small apartment downtown for a while after that. The first few nights were quiet in a way that almost hurt. No footsteps, no sighs, no half-hearted good nights. Just space and air and time. But then something strange happened. I started to breathe differently. The kind of breathing you forget exists when you're constantly tiptoeing around someone's moods. One night, a friend asked me if I regretted it. I told him the truth. I regret staying quiet for so long. I regret thinking love meant enduring distance. It's been 6 months now. Sarah reached out once asking if we could talk. I didn't ignore her. I just replied with a sentence that summed up everything she'd taught me. You were right, Sarah. People change. That was it. No anger, no closure speech. Just a calm acknowledgement that I'd finally stepped out of the version of myself she kept trying to shrink. Sometimes endings don't come from shouting or betrayal. They come from a quiet morning when the person you love looks at you like a stranger, and you finally decide to believe them. And when that moment comes, your silence says everything their words never did.